I want to ask you some questions here
Okay.
just about the market, okay, and
Absolutely.
understanding the market.
hmm
Where are you seeing the more attractive areas for people to move into in the DFW area?
You know what? Dallas Fort Worth has a plethora of opportunities everywhere. Okay. So honestly, it really depends on your price point. I'm
hmm
being very transparent with you. So I usually start with the radius to their job or their family or wherever their hub is,
Okay.
because then it gives me great insight to the options.
Okay.
But anywhere that you go on the outskirts, meaning Waxahachie, Forney,
hmm
um, some parts of Fort Worth. Those are all, the further you get out from the radius of the city, you're going to have the better deals.
Okay.
So, but honestly, you can get deals inside the city too, depending on your price range and depending on your flexibility with age of property, location of property, size.
Mhm.
There's just so much out here, but people are not taking advantage of it because they're concerned about the interest rate.
Right, right.
Mhm.
Now, when you're talking to someone who's concerned with, buying an investment property
Mhm.
versus a primary property,
Mhm.
how do you advise that person, or what are some considerations that you recommend?
I'm dealing with that right now. A lot of people buy investment properties like it's their primary residence, which is a
Mm,
mistake.
mm,
Stop looking at this property as something that you wouldn't live in.
right.
What you're doing is investing in an opportunity for a family that may not have an opportunity for ownership to rent from you.
hmm
So let's look at the bones of the house. Let's focus on the top 5 things: the roof, the foundation, plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. Are those things intact? Because those are the things that are going to be most cost prohibitive to a buyer or an investor like yourself. And let's review the area for the rentals, because that's the most important thing. If we focus on a good ISD,
hmm
independent school
Right,
district,
right.
if we are really investing well, it's going to give you back 100-fold of what you're putting back into it. So I'm not just looking at just one aspect. I'm looking at several aspects of the
Okay.
property.
Perfect. Now, this is Texas, and
Yeah.
Texas is continuing to expand and
Love it.
continuing to grow. And
Mm-hmm.
you have new home developments popping up everywhere.
Everywhere.
So and it's likely if you live somewhere within 5 miles of
Yeah.
your home, there's a new home development
Mm-hmm.
popping up. And if I'm living in a home,
Mm-hmm.
I might be out on a Sunday afternoon, just after
Looking
church
around,
and
of
looking
course.
around, and I decide just to wander into a new home
Mm-hmm.
community,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing leads to another, and I
Yeah.
end up contracting on a home.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it for you to have a realtor connection before you walk into that new home?
Y'all, this is critical. A lot of times you get caught up in the moment, but many builders are wanting you only to come in with your realtor on the first visit.
hmm
So that's important. If you even think that you're going to step into that new build community, take a moment and say, wait a minute. Would I go to a court case without representation from my own attorney?
Right.
That's really how you have to think of it.
hmm
You would say no, correct?
Right.
And that is how you have to deal with new build communities, and even open houses,
Mm.
because you want representation for yourself, someone that has your best interests at heart. Many realtors have had hours and years of expertise and experience to understand contracts, the art of negotiation,
Mhm.
how to make sure your interests are covered contractually.
Right.
And once you step in there and sign a contract, you don't have the ability to go backwards and say, now I want representation,
Right.
because you're already in the contract.
Yeah.
So my advice to anyone that is considering a new build, or should I consider it, stop. Reach out to your favorite realtor, research, Google, call me, of course. But I'm just saying, reach out to somebody that has the expertise and experience. And this is a little known fact: builders have a whole nother pot for realtor incentives. It has
Absolutely.
absolutely nothing to do with your incentives.
Absolutely.
But because of relationships that we build on a yearly or daily basis, we're able sometimes to get favor and get even better deals for you than you would just walking in. So it is always to a buyer's advantage to have representation.
Tanika, I work with a lot of new build
Yeah, you
communities
do.
and and working on deals. And I started actually keeping metrics from people
Yeah.
who had a realtor and
Come on.
people who don't have a
What did you
realtor.
find in that? Be
And
honest.
the people who had a realtor actually got more
Telling you.
incentives than the person who, and people have this belief that, hey, if I don't go on with a realtor, the builder's not paying a
Yeah.
realtor, so they're gonna
Yeah.
save money. And
I
also,
don't know where that came from.
I don't
You?
know. The builder already has all of that built in.
They do that with pre-owned homes as well.
Correct.
If I only want to work with the listing agent. Well, why is that? They're representing the seller. Well, I'm going to get a better deal. No, you can't. No, you can't. So I don't know where that comes from, but it's misinformation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So talk about, a lots of people right now are in a situation where where their families are growing.
Yes.
And it's time to move up in
Upsize.
home.
Mhm.
But they're locked to, hey, I've got this great interest rate that was in 2021 or
Yeah.
2020.
hmm
What's the conversation been like for you
Mhm.
with those move up buyers?
It's an easy conversation for me to have because this is what I ask them. I say, hey, listen, you're probably in your home for 10, 20, 15 years now.
Mhm.
How's the maintenance on that house?
Yeah. Yeah.
How's the electricity on that, your bill? And what I usually find is that the roof had to be done, the hot
Yeah.
water heater. I've got foundation issues. During the summer, my my AC is $600 a
Right.
month.
Right.
And then I get a chance to speak to them about the advantages of a brand new home
Mhm.
that's more energy efficient, that is full of warranties, that may be larger, and the sizes of the home may be larger. The HOA, if there's a HOA community, they have several amenities in
Yeah.
the community for your children
Mhm.
and to really help with your appreciation. So
Right.
there's so many aspects that they may not be thinking of. And most new builds are going to have incentives to buy down that interest
Absolutely.
rate. And you can usually match that.
Absolutely.
So that's fantastic for them.
Yeah, and the other conversation I'm having with people is they're concerned about, hey, my monthly payment's going to be this
Yeah.
high. If I sell this house, my
Mhm.
payment's going to go from this to this.
hmm
But reality is, well, if you take that
Yeah.
money, those proceeds that you make, and let's
Mhm.
say we pay off your brand new F-150 that you got,
Hello, right?
and that's
That you just
cost you
had to have, right?
that's
Yeah.
cost you $700 a month.
Yeah.
It is possible that you move up in home
hmm
and your monthly outgo is actually lower because we paid off debt with the proceeds from the sale of the home.
Here's another thing.
Mhm.
If that 600, we're just in the example I gave, that $600 a month utility bill is now cut to 250.
Then that's a lot of savings.
Come on, right there.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people, that light bulb goes on once they start talking to both of us or one of
Absolutely.
us, because they weren't really realizing those aspects of the upsizing.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. It's an interesting market, and that's why
Yeah.
it's so important to have. And I say you need to have a team of
Team.
people
hmm
around you to
hmm
advise you in these
Absolutely.
areas,
Mhm.
and not just look at your. And I was in Bible study with my kids this weekend, and there was
Mhm.
a Bible verse that said, a person left to their own counsel,
Ooh, child.
man, you're
Mm-mm.
just counseling yourself.
Yeah. A fool, talking
Yeah,
to fool, right?
yeah, yeah,
That's why you have to be in the midst of wise counsel. The Bible
absolutely,
speaks to that as well.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely.